The Strait of Hormuz narrows to just 21 miles across at its tightest point. For India, this physical bottleneck is a matter of survival, acting as the mandatory transit route for up to 14 Indian vessels dropped anchor in the Persian Gulf, unable to safely advance and unwilling to turn back. Global shipping relies on protection and indemnity, or P&I clubs, which are mutual insurance associations covering third-party liabilities. But the moment live ammunition hits a hull, Western P&I clubs immediately pull their coverage, citing active war risks. Without valid liability insurance, destination ports legally refuse entry, meaning a financial panic effectively locks down the physical supply chain. Military hardware in the strait triggered the initial freeze, but the systemic fragility of the global maritime insurance market is what actually brought international trade to a standstill. The attack presents an immediate contradiction. Iranian diplomats officially guaranteed the safety of these Indian ships. Why would Iranian military forces then fire upon them? To understand the motive, we have to look at the broader standoff. The United States had established a total naval blockade of Iranian ports, aiming to force Tehran into compliance over its nuclear program. The immense pressure of that blockade fractured the Iranian state. The civilian government pursued diplomatic pragmatism, attempting to ease tensions and keep trade moving. But the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps operates autonomously, with a completely different hardline agenda. By ambushing ships that their own diplomats had cleared, the IRGC executed a calculated internal power play. The gunfire proved that hardliners dictate the reality on the water, overriding the civilian state. The IRGC recognized that they couldn't break the American naval blockade through direct military confrontation. Instead, they pivoted, turning the strait itself into an economic weapon. This chart tracks global oil prices against the conflict's timeline. By violently choking off the transit route, the IRGC artificially spikes the cost of crude. They calculate that if economies suffer enough, they will be forced to lobby the United States for sanctions relief. Caught between a Western naval blockade and an Iranian militia, India finds its domestic economy held hostage to resolve a foreign dispute. India's initial response followed traditional diplomatic channels. Officials in New Delhi immediately summoned the Iranian envoy, delivering a harsh rebuke over the unprovoked attacks on their commercial fleet. But formal protests hold little weight against autonomous militias, and they do not compel Western insurers to reinstate coverage. Indian leadership realized their energy grid remained fully exposed to external forces. To break the deadlock, the Indian cabinet bypassed international markets entirely. They authorized the Bharat Maritime Insurance Pool, backing it with a nearly 12,980 crore rupee sovereign guarantee. By shifting catastrophic maritime risk off of volatile international markets and directly onto its own sovereign balance sheet, India effectively declared financial independence over its supply lines. This sovereign pool functions as a direct backstop. It explicitly covers the physical hull, the value of the cargo, and specific war risks for any vessel that is Indian flagged or bound for an Indian port. With the national government guaranteeing the liabilities, the fleet no longer requires approval from Western P&I clubs. Now, India's trapped merchant ships gained the legal and financial clearance they desperately needed to finally resume their journeys. For decades, major economies thrived on highly interconnected global supply chains. But as localized conflicts increasingly weaponize those connections, the model of total reliance on international systems is breaking down. In an era of weaponized trade, a nation's sovereign balance sheet serves as the final line of defense. By internalizing its own maritime risk, India neutralized a financial weapon that was as potent as any gunboat.